Welcome to Get a Clue, Casual Gamer, where we get a clue, C-L-U-E, about a game, or today about a list of games. We're going to get to know a few games centered around Sherlock Holmes. Now, I have always loved mysteries. Second grade, I was reading, The Secret Cat. And in third grade, I was reading Clue in the Woods. Fourth grade, I started reading the Nancy Drew books. And throughout my life, I have always loved mysteries. Mystery books, mystery stories, mystery movies, and of course, Sherlock Holmes. So, I was trying to come up with what list can I do that's a little different, but might be interesting to those who also like mysteries. So here are 9 games that I actually have that I went around and heard any game that had to do with Sherlock Holmes, any game that had to do with Sherlock Holmes. And I came up with 9. Excuse me. They run the gamut. The oldest one first came out in 1971, and the most recent one came out in 2019 of the ones that I have. So, let's get a clue about Sherlock Holmes, or at least the games that purport to be something to do with Sherlock and or mysteries. And so we begin, and I'm doing this list by the year they originally came out. Now, some of them I have reprints of, so they're newer, but we're going to go with the ones in order of when they originally came out. So the first one is 1971, and it is called Sleuth. It does not mention, per se, Sherlock Holmes as much as it has his profile on the cover of the box. And in the back, it talks about, it at least for one thing, it is a deduction game, which is good because not all of these Holmes games are deduction games, which you would think they would be, but they're not. This one is. And it's unusual in that it's coming in as the most difficult or the most highest what's the word, my brain just went blank, and I don't edit, so I'm going to just keep talking until it comes back to me. Is complexity. There we go. I don't see how this would be as complex as some of the others, yet it still comes in at a 2.47, which is just under my casual level. But all you're doing is figuring, it's basically a card game, and you're just trying to figure out what one card is missing from the deck. One card is put aside, and then through questioning and everything, everyone has a bunch of cards, kind of like Clue, where you have some cards and you're trying to find out what other people have so that you can deduce which one is missing. That's the game. And so I don't see how it could be that complex to be a 2.47 on Board Game Geek's list, but I'm giving it to you, the information it is. It's for 3 to 7 players. Eagle Griffin Games is the distributor of the current copy. Obviously, this is a reprint because this is not from 1971. It is 30 to 45 minutes play. They do say 10 and up. Again, it just doesn't seem that it would be that complex. But we'll just give it to you that way. Sleuth, 1971, 3 to 7 players, 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a deduction game. So if you're looking for a game of deduction, this is a good one. Number 2, I have the Deluxe Edition. Again, it is a reprint where they have combined 200 cases, separate cases in this game. It came out originally, the original version came out in 1975, and it is huge. Now, the ones that I've played up to, I would say this is more complex than Sleuth sounds. But you have a board and you're going around. It is supposed to take around 90 minutes. But when I was playing it and we saw that, we're here like, oh, we're not in the mood for a 90-minute game. Maybe we should play something else. And then I saw that there's a variant where you can play it cooperatively instead of against each other and together solve it. And you can usually solve it in 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm here like, that's the one we're playing. So we played it cooperatively. And it was true. It was 30 to 45 minutes to play one of the cases cooperatively. And it really isn't, it is a mixture of some deduction in it, because you're going to different places and getting clues in each of those locations. When you're doing cooperatively, you don't end up having to go to all the locations. Between the players, you go to the places. But this is definitely carries much more heavily the Sherlock Holmes theme, because it is, you are detectives, you are helping him find out, the different cases. And this is extremely large and very heavy because it's got all the different cases, the books that have the cases in it, so it's a very heavy box. And like I say, this is the deluxe version. You can get a much smaller ones with like 35 cases or something like that. But this is the one that has all 200 cases, which I think is the maximum that they made for this game. So 221 Baker Street, 1975. If you play it not cooperatively, it's around 90 minutes. If you play it cooperatively, it's 30 to 45 minutes. It is a deduction game. It's for 2 to 6 players, and that is 221B Baker Street. Number 3 is, I have the original box. It is originally from 1980, and it's called Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Deduction and Suspense. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Deduction and Suspense. And I will show you this. It came out in 1980, like I said. Let's see, here we go. Let's not shift everything inside. It has a board, and it plays very similar to Monopoly and Clue, where you're going around the board. You're just going around the board, and when you land on a person, you get information about them. So it is a deduction game. It's about a 2 complexity, whoops, upside down, because I have the back upside down, so yeah, there we go. About a 2 complexity, which was smack in the middle there, in that middle range of casual complexity. I don't see it being any more than that anyway. In fact, I personally see it more like a 175, 18, but that's okay. It takes about an hour, about 60 minutes to play, and it is a deduction game. There are several cards for each character, and one of them is taken out, and so you're having to deduce which one is missing. Very similar to Clue, but you go around the board, very similar to any other game like Monopoly, where you go around the board, and where you land is where you land, and that's where you get clues. So this is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Deduction and Suspense, and good luck finding this. I came across this in a box that I had packed several years ago. I'm in the process, I just found out last week that I'm moving again. And so I'm here like, okay, well, I need to repack all my games. And so I need to do these videos really quickly so that I can have some video content for y'all while I end up having to pack all these. But this I have had since the 1980s. In fact, I think I found it secondhand in a thrift store back in the mid to late 80s. So good luck finding this one. But if you do have it or find it, it's a simple deduction game. Very similar, but again, very similar to Sleuth in that manner where there's one card missing and you're trying to figure it out. Okay, number 4 is my big honkin' other heavy game, which I have not played yet because I'm waiting for a special group and special time. This game retails, well, let me tell you a little bit more about it first. Came out originally, the first Sherlock Holmes consulting detective. The original came out in 1982. Obviously, this is not from 1982. This is much newer, but and it's by Space Cowboys. This is, I believe, the first of the different ones that are out there. This one is the Thames Murders and Other Cases. There are 10 cases total in this. Once you've done the 10 cases, you're done. But it is a very involved. And personally, I think this is the one that I would consider the most difficult or most complex of all of the games that I have here, simply because it is really an incredible game in that you have like old, pretend copies of newspapers and phone books and maps and all this, and you are trying to solve the murders, the different cases by reading all of this information. And as a group, it can be done solo, but I don't want to do it solo. I want to do it with a couple other people and just have fun really crunching into all of this information that there is. It is considered a complexity of a 267, which does put it outside of the casual range, but because it's cooperative and you would be working with other people, I kind of put it there for those of you who want something a little bit more complex. These are great games. People absolutely love these when that's what you're looking for. Now, if you're a new gamer, this is kind of like an escape room on steroids, where you have this puzzlingness and you're trying to figure it out. But there's so much information, and it just kind of like it really puts you into that feel of that you are the detective, that you are Sherlock Holmes, and you are deducing and finding out the information. So this is number 4, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and there are other packs of them. I will say it retails for around $50. It is not cheap. It retails around $50. I did not pay that because I am always looking for a good sale. So yes, keep an eye out and see when you can get it for cheaper. But it does have 10 cases, and each one can take several hours, 1 to 2 hours for each case. And so I figure got my money's worth with this, and it's so different from so many other games out there. It's much more real. So that was Consulting Detective. They do say 13 and up, and I would agree because it is so complex. I would say high school and up would be a good balance. You need to know the people that you're working with, and you don't want too many doing it. It does say 1 to 8, but I would say 4 max, because too many people, you end up missing information from each other. So yeah, so that's number 4. Number 5 is A very simple game. Number 5 is Sherlock 13. Sherlock 13 is a deduction game. It came out in, now we've jumped. We've jumped to modern games. Because Consulting Detective was 1982, so we had 71, 75, 1980, 1982, and then we jump to 2013. We just jumped 30 years and come to the newer, more modern games. And Sherlock 13 is for 2 to 4 players. It's a very quick game, 15 minutes. And the complexity is, they say 1.73. I wouldn't, yeah, it's not about that. It is a deduction game. You do have some information there, and you use these cards. And it definitely talks about the characters that you know in Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, John Watson, James Moriarty, Irene Adler, and other notorious characters have become the prime suspects of a serious crime. One of them is undoubtedly the criminal. But whom? Surely, with even Sherlock as a suspect, no one can be trusted. You must solve the case alone, deducing the true criminal with logic and wit. Hurry, for your fellow suspicious investigators are attempting to do the same. So it is a deduction game. Again, it's a quick one though, 15 minutes. I always add some to that. So let's say 15 to 30 minutes because manufacturers tend to kind of like hope that, they go for the, you've played this so many times now it only takes you 15 minutes. Yeah, it's done by Arcane Wonders. And again, it's 2013. It is probably the most almost the most complex of the ones that are left. Well, around the, and it's really not, it's 1.73, so it's not that hard, but it's small, it's compact, and it really is not that hard to come by. It has been out for 9 years though, just so you know. And that was number 5. Number 6 is Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. This has nothing to do with deduction. I'll tell you that right now. It's a 2-player game, and it is all about set collection and getting the most of the different numbers of cards. And the cards have wonderful artwork, and the artwork and that all fits with the theme, but it is not a deduction game. This is a set collection game. So if you like Sherlock Holmes, but you don't really want to do a heavy deduction game, this is a much lighter game, though they have it around the same range as Sherlock 13. It's a 1.81 on BGG, on Board Game Geek. I've played it with multiple different types of people, and it's not, Uno, but it's also not Risk. Rook. Yeah, Rook is harder than this is. So yeah, it's like if you know Rook and you know Uno, it's kind of like someplace in the middle there. Someplace in the middle. It's a light game. It's a quick game. The manufacturer says 20 to 30 minutes, and I would say it's 20 to 30 minutes. There are 7 rounds, 7 days, but each day you only have 3 things you do each day, and then the day changes to the next day. So it's really a quick game, a small game, a game for 2 players. Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. Now, number 7, Beyond Baker Street. This is considered a 2.18. Reminding those, or if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I consider the casual game range from 1 to 2.5. And this is 2.18. It is a deduction game, and you do have these cards and this board, And as it says, another criminal is on the run and Sherlock Holmes has a lead. Of course, he'll have the culprit behind bars in no time unless you beat him at his own game. So in this case, you are trying to beat Holmes at his game, and he will advance as you try to beat him, get ahead of him. This came out in 2016. It plays 2 to 4 players. And it is considered one of the heavier games. They say 13 and up. It's by Z-Man Games. And I don't know if it really needs to be 13 and up. Consulting detective, I would say yes. It depends on the person, the child. If they like to play games and they're regularly playing games, they should be able to do it at 11 or 12. But it is a little bit on the heavier side, so you want to keep that in mind. But it is a deduction game. Again, Beyond Baker Street came out in 2016. Number 8 is actually one of 3 in this series. The Unlock games will sell single games and or groups of 3. I have this one, which obviously has a Sherlock Holmes story attached to it, and Alice in Wonderland, and like a 8-bit video game setup. But we're talking about Sherlock here, and it's Sherlock Holmes: The Scarlet Thread of Murder. Is this, and its unlocks are kind of like an escape game. It's a lot of puzzles in it, not necessarily deduction like we're used to in other games, but it is like an escape room type game, an escape game. It is, let me give you a little bit more information, came out in 2018. This one here came out in 2018. It plays 1 to 6 players. I again would say 3 or 4 is a good number. You can do 6, but then it gets a little crowded around the table. The complexity is a 2.26, and I would say yes. The unlocks tend to be around 2 to 2.5. So yes, I would say this is smack in the middle of that, 2.26, and that sounds about right. It is a puzzle, and it is cooperative. It is not deduction as much as it is puzzles. So if you've done any of the unlocks or any of the escape room games or have actually done an escape room, it's that type of setup. It's puzzles. You're trying to solve the puzzle so you can move ahead, so you can get ahead. And if you do it timed, you're supposed to try and get it done within 60 minutes. I'm horrible at these. Yeah, I am horrible at the escape room games. I'm better in an actual escape room than I am with these, and I am definitely better when I play with other people, because you can play these solo because they're cooperative and this can be just you. I am horrible at playing them by myself, so this is waiting for me to have the right group of people, the right number of people, the right level of complexity people to really enjoy it and have fun with the Sherlock Holmes storyline of this Heroic Adventures Unlock set. And again, this came out in 2018. And our last one, number 9, it came out in 2019, and it's Sherlock Express. And this is the easiest one out of all of these. It is very kid-friendly, family-friendly. It's out from Blue Orange Distributors. Plays 2 to 6 players. They say 7 and up, which is a sign that it is very family-friendly, very light. They even have it down as about as light as Uno, or Old Maid. It's that light. It's a very simple game, and it's not deduction. It is all about pattern recognition, recognizing, matching things. It's almost like, it's not memory because you're seeing it, but you're matching. And that's what it is all about. You are matching who has a monocle, who has a mustache, and finding the characters. And their animals. It's like there's nothing Sherlock Holmes profile even. It's just the name Sherlock Express, as in, you know, Sherlock is known to be very aware of details, and that's what this game is pulling from, recognizing the details of different pictures and being able to find them quicker than the other players. And so this is Sherlock Express. It takes about 10 minutes. It's a quick game, a light game, a great filler game, a great family game. It came out in 2019, so it's the most recent of them. Small, compact, and let's see, it has one of those magnetic closures and deck of cards, round cards, and that's the 9th one out of this list of Sherlock Holmes themed games, whether they're deduction games or pattern recognition. There's, let's see, set collection, puzzle cooperative. Most of them were deduction. I'm looking at it, I have 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 9 were deduction games. So that's nice to know. These run the gambit of price from inexpensive to, from inexpensive, I'm thinking under $20, to more expensive. The most expensive is around $50. Anything in between. So with this list, I hope I have introduced you to some possibilities, especially if you are looking for a Sherlock Holmes theme or a deduction type of game, and they are so very different. Even the deduction aspect of them make them very different. So happy gaming. God bless you and your family. Until the next time, bye.